Hey, very good evening to all of you. I'm Sudhi Haribat. I'm a leadership success specialist and a life coach. So today's session is going to be very different. Usually we speak of pleasant topics about how to improve, how to do better, how to change things and so on. But today it's a little negative, the topic. It is about how to fire an employee. Now, it's never a pleasant experience, but it is something which has to be done, and each one of us has to encounter it at some point or the other. Most people are very incapable, or they struggle a lot to do this work. So that is why based on requests from many of you, I have decided to pick this topic for today. Okay. When I talk about firing an employee, it could be from a team or from the organization itself. So whatever I am going to be talking applies to everything. You can use the same principles. There might be some policies within your organization which you may need to be aware of, and which processes which you need to follow. Those would be applicable. What I am talking about is general principles, concepts that you ought to know. Okay, so let's begin. So here's my mind map. There are primarily three reasons why you would want to fire anyone from the team or from the organization itself. The first is non-performance. They've been given the work, but they're not able to deliver. The second is the position becomes redundant. This is a little bit tricky because usually it's not the fault of the person at all. And the most complicated one is related to discipline, where as a leader, many times you probably have a limited role, but still we'll talk about it. Okay, let's begin with non-performance. So what is non-performance? Non-performance is whatever is expected of a person to be done, the person is not able to do it. Now here the key word is expectation. So between you and the employee, there has to be absolute clarity about what is expected. If both of you are on different pages, that is, he or she thinks these are the expectations and you are on to something else, then there is a basic communication problem which you need to solve before even getting to this stage. Okay, so let's begin. So as far as non-performance is concerned, let us assume that that has been established. You need to discuss in advance. Don't just keep it to yourself or talk to everyone else but the person. So go and speak to the person involved in detail as to what your expectations are and what they have really been delivering. Okay. Next, try to understand why. You may have seen that people's performance varies. After all, we are all human beings. I had a person in my organization, in my team once, who was a star performer for a good 12 to 14 months, and then his performance started going down, and after a while it was very difficult to justify retaining him. So there could be so it's shocking. So you as a leader have to make an attempt to understand and see what's gone wrong. Well, when I went deeper in this case, what I found is that he had become an addict. He had become an alcoholic, and he was into deep trouble. So those things can happen. So instead of firing him, I had to hand him over to HR, and they put him through rehabilitation. So it was a completely different process. But suffices to say that it is important for you to understand why the person is not been performing. Now let us assume that there have been performance issues and nothing extreme like substance abuse or whatever. Then the following step for you to do is have a performance improvement plan, because just telling a person that you're not doing well is not good enough. So in a performance improvement plan, you check with the person, what are the things you want me to help you with, what are the things that you struggle to do, what are the things that you are good at, strengths, weaknesses, and also where just make the expectations clear, and then if there is any kind of training that is required, if there is any kind of shift in attitude that is necessary. Discuss all those details and put it in a formal performance improvement plan. In large organizations or established organizations, there are standard HR processes that are in place for performance improvement planning. Use it and do it very effectively. If you don't have one in your organization, Google around and create one, but it should be there. Once the person has gone through the performance improvement plan, and if he or she is done well, then the process is aborted. It's back in the good books. But if the person is not able to cope and you are clear that this isn't gonna work, take a decision. Don't keep it lingering. Take a clear decision to remove the person. Then thereafter, see if the person needs any kind of help. Sometimes it could be getting a role in a different project because the person was a misfit in yours, and at other times it could be getting them if they are being asked to leave the organization itself, then getting them onto a different organization. Maybe help them with understanding how job portals work, keywords. If you want to, you can use your contacts as well, but be nice and try and help them as much as is possible. Okay. Then the second one is the redundant position. Now this unfortunately is something which we have to live with, and it could happen to anyone. So this can be sudden, or this can be in a expected manner, but you have to deal with it. And most of the times the person who is being fired may not be at fault, but just for the sake of the organization and the situation, you will have to do it. So the first thing to do is look for alternatives for this person, because since the person was not at fault, then that is all the more reason for you to look for alternatives within your organization, outside your organization, whatever is needed. And compensate well. If you are one of those decision makers who is going to decide the compensation package, if I'm assuming there is no standard package, then make sure the person is compensated well and help further. So sometimes you may, if it is in your hands, if you want to extend the notice period, or if you want to send them away on garden leave, there are various options. So you can look at this. Redundant position, that is the one which you feel really bad for, because that is where the person is not at fault, like I said. So try your best and try and help the people as much as you can. Okay. The third one is for disciplinary reasons. Disciplinary reasons could be anything which violates the policies of your organization, or it could be violating the laws of the land. So it could be anything from misbehavior to not showing up on time, or uninformed leave. It could be abuse, anything, or it could even be theft, any of these. So just remember one thing: if it is anything to do with discipline, you have to involve your legal and HR people. Now in very small organizations, you may not have legal and HR as separate entities, but talk to your top management, because firing someone for disciplinary reasons is a very sensitive matter, and you have to have all your bases covered. You can't do it willy-nilly. And once the decision has been made, make sure the action is very swift. Okay, don't hesitate. So these are the three reasons why you would want to fire someone. Then here are some general tips that you can follow when you have to do the firing. I was talking to a friend earlier today, and he is a strict disciplinarian. He has a team working for him with his people, very clear about his expectations and the work that needs to be done. He gives them a piece of his mind whenever he needs to, but when it comes to firing someone, somehow he chickens out. And I tell you what, There are many people who are like that. I was also one such person at the beginning of my career. I used to think of firing as something terrible, but I learned over a period of time that it's not, and you have to just do it. Do it for your sake, for the organization's sake. Just do it. Okay. So that's the first tip. The second is don't gossip. Get the job done, but don't go around talking about it. It is very cruel and undignified. So don't gossip about it. Third is the documentation should be watertight. You never know how anything could backfire against you, because firing someone is a big deal. So you better be prepared. Okay. See, all said and done, firing is a very unpleasant experience. Why prolong? Unpleasant for you and the person who's being fired and everyone else around. So ideally, the notice period should be 0 days, in fact 0 minutes. Depending on your situation, just make sure that the notice period is as little as is needed. When you do the firing, it should always be one-to-one. Whether you are firing from your team or from the organization, always do it one-to-one. Face-to-face, in person preferred, but in these times most conversations happen over Zoom or whatever else, but it has to be one. If required, you can involve HR as necessary, especially when it is about discipline, but it has to be with the person directly, not through email or something else. Be confident and clear. So don't sound very hesitant and reluctant, unclear, confused about why you're firing the person. So be very confident and very clear. Don't give any false hopes. See, you're firing someone. This is not the time to show them light at the end of the tunnel. Just get it over and done with. Nor is it a time for criticism or review or arguments. All that should have been done much earlier in the process. Don't do it now. Then it's also a wrong thing if you start comparing. That person has been doing such good work. If only you could have also done similar things, then we wouldn't have had to see this day. Not the time. Don't do that. Once the person has been released, just make sure that you speak to the remaining people in your team, because there is going to be a lot of talk and there could be rumors, and this person who is being fired will have access to the rest of the team. So what version gets out will not be in your hands. So it is in your best interest to go back, speak to the team, be transparent about what happened so that they know your side of the story. It's up to them to believe you or not, but if you have been honest and transparent with them in the past, they have no reason not to believe you. Next thing, remember, this is not a death sentence. It is like no option divorce. So don't feel bad when you do this, because like I said in the beginning, you need to do it properly, and many times it's for everyone's good. It's a win-win situation. Firing an employee may not sound like one, but it is. If you fire someone on time, then you save yourself from a lot of mental anguish. You save your team and the organization from inefficiency, losses due to inefficiency, and most importantly, the person who you are firing. You may think that have I robbed a person of his livelihood or something so dramatic, but no, it's not the case. Yes, there will be a temporary blip. That person will go back, reflect, maybe reprioritize his or her life, maybe take a pivot in career, and who knows, in the medium term to long term, it will be a great decision. He or she may come back and thank you even. There are so many people who have been fired in their jobs and went on to achieve great things. So you never know. So don't think of firing as a death sentence. Just think of it as a unpleasant or no fault divorce. Okay. Last and the most important, no matter what the reason, always keep the firing a dignified exercise. See, the person you're firing may have made mistakes, situation may have gone wrong, but you have no right to be humiliating them. Never do that. Whatever happens, you may or may not stay in touch because of the situation and the circumstances in which you had to let go, but always let that person go away without having felt humiliated and defeated. You don't want to flatten or smother someone's confidence itself. That would be terrible. That's not what we are supposed to do as leaders. The end, no matter what the reason, keep it dignified. So friends, that is how you fire an employee. Never a pleasant experience, but always good to know how it is done. I hope this video has been helpful to you and you will remember these tips. Do let me know your views on how this could be done better, or if there is anything that you disagree with me, and also keep writing to me about the topics that you would like me to cover. I'll definitely do that for you. Thank you. Cheers. Bye-bye.